knock on the door, and when he came to the door, I would say to him,
In what can only be described as one of the most stunning and unexpected moves in entertainment history, Patrick Stewart has reportedly signed a massive multi-project deal with Lucasfilm to join the Star Wars universe. The legendary 85-year-old actor who defined Captain Jean-Luc Picard for an entire generation and became the face of Star Trek. The next generation has allegedly turned his back on Star Trek completely after the Starfleet Academy disaster and is heading to the galaxy far, far away. And according to sources inside both Lucasfilm and Paramount, the financial terms of the deal are staggering, with Patrick reportedly receiving between $50 and $75 million for multiple projects that will make him a major player in Star Wars going forward. This is absolutely earth-shattering for multiple reasons. First, Patrick Stewart is Star Trek royalty, arguably the most important actor in the franchise's history after William Shatner. For him to leave Star Trek and join Star Wars, the franchise's biggest rival, is a betrayal that Star Trek fans are going to feel deeply. It's like watching your team's legendary captain sign with your fiercest competitor. Second, Patrick's decision validates every criticism that's been made about how Paramount has mishandled Star Trek. When Captain Picard himself decides the franchise is so broken that he needs to leave and join the competition, that's the ultimate vote of no confidence in Paramount's leadership and creative direction. Patrick's departure is a statement that Star Trek under current management is beyond saving. Third, this deal represents Disney and Lucasfilm making an aggressive move to capitalize on Paramount's dysfunction. They're not just signing Patrick to spite Star Trek, they're recognizing that an actor of his caliber and gravitas can bring something special to Star Wars, and they're willing to pay him what he's worth. This is exactly what Netflix failed to do with Cillian Murphy, and it demonstrates that smart entertainment companies understand you have to invest in top talent if you want quality content. Let's break down exactly what happened, what Patrick's role in Star Wars will be, why he made this shocking decision, what this means for both franchises, and how this move could reshape the entire landscape of science fiction entertainment. According to sources close to the negotiations, Lucasfilm approached Patrick Stewart within weeks of the Starfleet Academy cancellation, and the public controversy surrounding his criticism of the show. Disney executives had been watching the Star Trek situation closely, recognizing that Paramount's creative failures and toxic fan discourse were creating an opportunity for them to poach major talent. Patrick was reportedly approached by Kathleen Kennedy herself, the president of Lucasfilm, who pitched him on joining Star Wars in a role that would be substantial and meaningful rather than just a celebrity cameo. Kennedy allegedly told Patrick that Lucasfilm had been fans of his work for decades, that they admired his integrity and his commitment to quality storytelling, and that they wanted to create a character specifically designed around his strengths and gravitas. The initial meeting was apparently exploratory, with Patrick expressing skepticism about joining another major science fiction franchise at his age. But Kennedy and other Lucasfilm executives came prepared with a compelling creative pitch and, crucially, a financial offer that demonstrated they valued Patrick's talent and understood his market worth despite his age. The role Lucasfilm created for Patrick is reportedly that of a high-ranking Imperial or New Republic political leader, someone with the intelligence, commanding presence, and moral complexity that Patrick excels at portraying. The character would appear in multiple projects, including films and Disney Plus series, giving Patrick substantial screen time and allowing him to develop the character across different stories. According to insiders, the pitch emphasized that Patrick's character would be written with the same depth and nuance that made Picard so compelling. A leader who faces difficult moral choices, who must balance idealism with pragmatism, and who commands respect through intelligence and integrity rather than just force. Lucasfilm allegedly showed Patrick how his character would fit into the broader Star Wars timeline and how he would interact with established characters and new heroes. The creative pitch resonated with Patrick because it offered him exactly what modern Star Trek had stopped providing: thoughtful storytelling about complex moral questions, a character written for an older actor rather than trying to make him pretend to be younger, and respect for his intelligence and experience. After his frustrations with Star Trek, Picard and his disappointment with Starfleet Academy, the Star Wars pitch felt like a return to the kind of science fiction Patrick believed in. But the creative pitch alone wouldn't have been enough. What apparently sealed the deal was the money. Lucasfilm reportedly offered Patrick between $50 and $75 million for a multi-year, multi-project deal. This included substantial per-project fees, bonuses tied to viewership and critical reception, and even back-end participation in merchandising related to his character. This offer demonstrated something crucial. Lucasfilm values top-tier talent and is willing to pay appropriately for it. The offer was several times what Patrick had made for Star Trek, Picard, and it came with guarantees about creative involvement and script approval that Patrick hadn't had at Paramount. Lucasfilm was essentially saying, "We want you, we value you, and we'll prove it with both creative opportunities and fair compensation." Patrick reportedly took several weeks to consider the offer, consulting with his family, his representatives, and trusted colleagues in the industry. The decision wasn't easy. Joining Star Wars meant definitively ending his relationship with Star Trek and potentially facing backlash from Trek fans who would see it as betrayal. But ultimately, Patrick concluded that Paramount had demonstrated they didn't value him or understand what made Star Trek work, while Lucasfilm was offering him the respect and opportunities he deserved. According to sources, Patrick signed the deal approximately 2 weeks ago, but the announcement was delayed to coordinate with production schedules and to prepare for the expected fan reaction. When the news breaks publicly, it's going to send shockwaves through both fandoms and the entertainment industry. Patrick's role in Star Wars will reportedly begin with a Disney Plus series set during the New Republic era, between the fall of the Empire in Return of the Jedi and the rise of the First Order in The Force Awakens. His character will be a senior political figure navigating the challenges of building a new government after decades of imperial rule, dealing with corruption, ideological divisions, and external threats. The series is apparently being developed by one of the more acclaimed Star Wars creators, with a focus on political intrigue and moral complexity similar to what made Andor so successful. Patrick's character would serve as a mentor figure to younger heroes while also having his own complete arc exploring the costs of leadership and the difficulty of maintaining ideals in a messy political reality. After the series establishes his character, Patrick would reportedly appear in at least one theatrical Star Wars film, potentially playing a crucial role in a major storyline. There's also discussion of his character appearing in other interconnected Star Wars projects, making him a recurring presence across the franchise, similar to how Picard appeared across multiple Star Trek series and films. The reaction to this deal, once it becomes public, is going to be absolutely massive and completely divided. Star Trek fans are going to feel betrayed by Patrick Stewart abandoning the franchise that made him famous and joining the enemy. Social media will explode with angry posts about loyalty, about how Patrick is spitting on Star Trek's legacy, and about how this proves he was never really committed to Gene Roddenberry's vision. But other Star Trek fans will understand and even support Patrick's decision. They'll recognize that Paramount drove him away through years of creative mismanagement, that the Starfleet Academy disaster was the final straw, and that Patrick deserves to work on quality projects with people who value his talent. These fans will blame Paramount rather than Patrick for the situation. Star Wars fans will be divided as well. Some will be excited about Patrick Stewart bringing his gravitas and acting prowess to their franchise. They'll appreciate that Lucasfilm is investing in quality talent, and they'll be curious to see what kind of character Patrick creates in the Star Wars universe. Other Star Wars fans will be skeptical or hostile, seeing Patrick as a Star Trek actor who doesn't belong in their galaxy. There's a segment of Star Wars fandom that's very protective of the franchise and resistant to what they see as stunt casting or gimmicks. Patrick's Star Trek baggage might make some fans suspicious that this is just a publicity move rather than a genuine creative decision. The industry reaction will be focused on what this move says about the state of both franchises. Patrick Stewart leaving Star Trek for Star Wars is the ultimate validation of every criticism about Paramount's mismanagement. When your most iconic living actor abandons ship to join the competition, that's a crisis that goes beyond just losing one performer. It's a statement about fundamental franchise dysfunction. For Lucasfilm and Disney, landing Patrick Stewart is a major win that demonstrates their commitment to quality and their ability to attract top talent. After some of their own controversies and creative missteps, signing an acting legend like Patrick sends a message that Star Wars is investing in substance and quality, rather than just chasing trends or cutting costs. The comparison to Chris Pine and the other Kelvin timeline actors who left Star Trek is unavoidable. In that case, the actors left to join the competition, in our previous scenarios. Now Patrick Stewart, an even more legendary Trek figure, is doing the same thing. The pattern is clear. Paramount is hemorrhaging talent because they've created a toxic environment where actors don't want to work. The financial implications are significant. Patrick's $50 to $75 million deal represents a massive investment by Lucasfilm in their Star Wars content. They're betting that Patrick's presence will attract audiences, generate buzz, and deliver quality that justifies the cost. If Patrick's Star Wars projects succeed critically and commercially, it validates the strategy of paying top talent appropriately. For Paramount, losing Patrick is another devastating blow to a franchise that's already on life support. Star Trek IV is dead, Starfleet Academy is canceled, Chris Pine is gone, and now Patrick Stewart has left for Star Wars. What's left of Star Trek's value as a franchise? Strange New Worlds is the only show with decent reception, and even that's not enough to overcome the broader crisis. There's also the question of whether other Star Trek actors will follow Patrick's lead. If Disney and Lucasfilm are willing to pay fairly for talent and provide quality creative opportunities, other Trek actors might be interested in making the same switch. The exodus could accelerate, leaving Star Trek with no connection to its legendary past. Patrick's decision is also personal and emotional. According to people close to him, Patrick genuinely loves Star Trek and loves the character of Jean-Luc Picard. Leaving wasn't easy or something he wanted to do. But after watching Paramount cancel Starfleet Academy without making the fundamental changes he and other legends called for, after seeing his criticism ignored, and after recognizing that the franchise he helped build is being destroyed by people who don't understand it, Patrick concluded he couldn't stay. The reported statement Patrick will release when the deal is announced allegedly says something like, "Star Trek has meant everything to me for decades. Playing Captain Picard was the honor of my life, and I will always cherish the relationships and experiences from the next generation and the films, but I can no longer support what Star Trek has become under current leadership." The franchise has lost its way, prioritizing politics over storytelling and alienating the fans who made it successful. I'm joining Star Wars because Lucasfilm offered me the opportunity to do thoughtful science fiction with people who value quality and respect talent. I hope Star Trek finds its way back to what made it special, but I can't wait around any longer hoping that happens. This statement, if accurate, is devastating for Paramount. Patrick isn't just leaving. He's publicly explaining that Paramount's creative failures and poor management forced him out. That's the harshest possible critique from the actor who represents Star Trek's golden age. The timing of this announcement is also strategic. Patrick is making this move while the Star Trek crisis is at its peak, when his criticism will have maximum impact, and when the contrast between how Paramount treats talent versus how Lucasfilm treats talent is most stark. This isn't a quiet retirement, it's a public declaration that Paramount has failed. The symbolic weight of Patrick Stewart joining Star Wars cannot be overstated. This is Captain Picard, the embodiment of Star Trek's ideals of intelligence, diplomacy, and moral complexity, saying that those ideals are better represented by Star Wars now than by Star Trek itself. That's a scathing indictment that Paramount will never fully recover from. For Star Wars, getting Patrick Stewart is about more than just one actor. It's about sending a message to the entire industry that Lucasfilm is committed to quality, that they value experienced talent, and that they're building Star Wars thoughtfully rather than just churning out content. Patrick's presence lends gravitas and legitimacy to their projects in ways that resonate beyond his individual performance. The practical challenges of this transition are significant. Patrick at 85 has to be managed carefully in terms of physical demands and scheduling. But Lucasfilm has apparently designed his role to be physically manageable while still being dramatically significant. Most of his scenes would be dialogue-heavy political and strategic discussions rather than action sequences, playing to his strengths while respecting his age. The fan response when this becomes public will be one of the biggest entertainment stories of the year. The think pieces, the YouTube videos, the social media debates, it's going to dominate discussion for weeks. Everyone will have an opinion about whether Patrick made the right choice, what it means for both franchises, and where science fiction entertainment goes from here. The long-term impact is impossible to fully predict, but this feels like a watershed moment. Patrick Stewart leaving Star Trek for Star Wars could be remembered as the point where Star Trek's decline became irreversible, and where Star Wars solidified its position as the dominant space-based science fiction franchise. Or it could be the wake-up call that finally forces Paramount to make the fundamental changes Star Trek needs to survive. What's certain is that Patrick Stewart, at 85, after 40 years of being synonymous with Star Trek, has decided the franchise is so broken that he needs to leave it behind and start fresh with the competition. That decision, and the generous welcome he's receiving from Lucasfilm, tells you everything you need to know about which franchise values talent and quality, and which franchise has lost its way so completely that even its greatest living star wants nothing more to do with it. Captain Picard is leaving the Enterprise and boarding a Star Destroyer. The shock of that image, the symbolism of that choice, will echo through science fiction fandom for years to come. And Paramount has no one to blame but themselves for creating the conditions that made one of entertainment's most legendary actors decide that after decades of loyalty, enough was finally enough.